Welcome to Training Days 1 and 2. I know that you were here for Training Day 1.
Yes.
But we're going to go into Training Day 2, and really the only thing that other than this that you'll need is if you have the iBook open on your iPad, that would be a great tool to have.
Okay.
I'm going to actually lower my speed a little. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, I have my iPad on the counter. That's why the angle is so strange for me.
That's okay. That's okay.
Down, maybe that'll be a little better, but okay.
That works. Okay. I'm just excited that I now know what to do. And what I can do from now on is take the link that I emailed you and just post it on Facebook and say, okay, guys, at 9 o'clock, go to this link, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we figured it out, and it's recording, and it's awesome. So, okay, so what we're going to do is there is going to be a lot of screen sharing, so you're going to see my screen. So if you don't have the iBook open, that's totally fine. I can share my screen, and I can show you the iBook. So we're going to start again with day 2 because you've already completed day 1, so I'm not going to make you do that. So I'm actually going to go jump over to screen share, and we're going to start with day 2.
Okay.
Hang on one second. I have to do one thing.
You're great. I was afraid if I went and tried to open it myself that I would knock myself out. So
yeah, that's fine. I think you can do, you can do multitasking on it. And I don't think it'll kick you off. But
okay.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, it says
Perfect.
iPads in the classroom.
That's it. All right. So we're gonna jump again over to where we started. I'm actually going to run and grab the itinerary right quick because I completely forgot where we have gone to. So just give me 1 second. Let me jump to our drive, and we're in training week 1, and I'm going to grab the itinerary for day 2. I think we started with SAMR. Yeah, this sounds right. We did started with SAMR and went on. So actually, it's a good bit of information. I didn't realize it was this much. So let me minimize this and get back to where I'm supposed to be. There we go. Perfect. So you didn't see any of that clicking around I was just doing, correct?
No. It stayed straight on the iBook. So.
Okay. Can you see my cursor?
Yes.
That's interesting. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump on into this. We're going to start with SAMR, and as you know, we've talked a lot about SAMR and what it is in the other days that you've been present for the training. So, and what I'm going to do, Natalie, is I know that I'm probably going to repeat a lot of things, but what I want is to make sure that I'm doing something that can be used as a resource later.
Right.
So I may be a little bit more formal. I may, act like you don't know anything, and that's just because I want to make sure that I cover all bases in case I need to send someone and say, well, go refresh on day 2.
Right.
So we can do that. So, all right. So this is, again, talking about SAMR. This is the model that allows us to take the iPad and plug it into different I'm going to say stages, but I'm going to use that term very loosely because you don't want to look at SAMR as the end-all, be-all. You don't want to only use one portion of SAMR. There are times and places to use every portion. So what I'm going to do is go back to our combo here, and I'm going to figure out how I can share my entire desktop so you can see everything that I'm clicking on. And can you see my entire desktop now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'm going to jump to our, let's see, not that. I don't want to jump to that yet. I'm going to jump to our shared Google Drive and show you inside of the resources center that we've created, we do have an entire folder for SAMR right here. And as you can see, there are some SAMR quick links, but then there is also the SAMR model with suggested apps. And just whenever you get a chance tonight, I would spend some time looking through this. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit so you can see the different portions of it. I thought we were going to zoom in. There we go. All right. So this is the SAMR model. And again, it has 4 different phases. The first one is substitution. Then we get into augmentation, modification, and then finally redefinition. And again, you want to look at it as a whole. And there are tons of SAMR model diagrams out there. If you do a quick Google search, you'll see that there are hundreds of diagrams that people have come up with for the SAMR model. And this is just one that I particularly liked a lot because it shows not only apps, recommended applications that are kind of fitting into that part of SAMR, but there are also different activities. There are action verbs.
Right.
And then finally, you've got Bloom's taxonomy here in the
Mm-hmm.
middle. So it's wonderful in that it kind of really goes into a thorough definition of SAMR without being too mind-boggling. So we'll discuss the first part of it, and substitution is our first part, and you'll see here substitution and no functional change, or it's just a substitute. So this is with, and I want you to reference back to the core video where, and actually I'm just going to pull that up right quick because I think it illustrates substitution perfectly. And I'm going to pull up this video.
This is where they're talking about you can't just put an iPad in their
Exactly.
hands.
Can you hear that audio?
No. Well,
Can
it's
you hear
frozen
that
now.
audio, Natalie?
Let's see. It keeps freezing. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Hey.
All right. Are you back? Okay. I lost you for a second.
Yeah, the screen kept
I can hear
freezing.
you.
Okay, the screen kept freezing on the video.
All right. I'm going to... Okay, we're having some connection. All right, then we may be having some connection in videos or issues. So I'm not going to play the video because we were doing really well until I started playing with that. So just think back to that video that we watched. And I'm sure you remember the part where it shows a young girl and she's sitting at her desk and they're talking about all the one-to-one programs that have been rolled out since this technology takeover has happened in our schools, where most schools just stick the iPad in their hand. And then it's like, okay, good job, we did it, you know. But that's not really what the technology can do.
Right.
In that case, it's strict substitution. So I'm going to zoom into this portion here. So at that point, we're in this substitution phase. And these are some apps where it's, you know, substitution. For example, Facebook, talking to a colleague about, you know, a work topic and you guys discussing. Okay, that can happen with Facebook. You can do that. Twitter is for collaborating as well. This application here, Thoughts, it just basically lets you make a mind map of different things. That's all things that we could have written down on paper. Google search, we could have gone to a library to do the same thing. And these are some of the different activities like social networking, word processing, commenting, action verbs, retrieve, paraphrase, explain, and then it goes into the remember and understand. As we move along, we're getting more into the augmentation, where we have this section here, this section here for apply. And augmentation is all about, okay, so we're going to substitute, but there's a small functional improvement. So things, for example, Evernote. Evernote is a great note-taking application, but you also have things on Evernote where you can make checklists and you can have photos added, those kinds of things. Explain Everything, as we've played with, is a whiteboard emulator where you can use your iPad as the whiteboard. The functional change with that is that, and the improvement over the substitution is that that can then be uploaded to some sort of social media platform. So not only, you know, in the old school, we could just write everything on a whiteboard. Well, here with Explain Everything, we can write it, but then we can also share it, which is the improvement there. Going on through the circle, we see modification, and that's a significant task redesign. So we're getting more into things that we can do, and it is almost completely redesigned. And one of my favorite apps in this little section here, and there's some more, you know, down here, with, you know, things like spreadsheets, where we can have it do the, the number crunching for us. Comic Life. I think I use an example where, let's say, Comic Life actually allows you to create a comic book out of very simply. And so that would be something fun. Let's say that, you're studying walruses. I have no idea what I'm talking about here, but let's say that you're studying walruses and you want to make a comic book about, Walter the Walrus, okay? So it's something that it's different for the child, for the student. They have done similar things before. Yes, you could do a old school pen and paper comic book, but this is improving it and it's slightly modifying it. And then finally you get fully into the modification stage, and one of my favorite ones here are things like Notability. So Notability is a fun app. If you haven't downloaded it, I would. I used it all through college. Basically what you can do is you can take notes on your iPad with a stylus. You can type notes. I can download the professor's PowerPoint slides into the application. I can notate, I can annotate on those. But where this adds the redesign is it has a built-in microphone as well. So I can record lectures as I'm taking notes in class so that I can get the entire experience and I can take that with me so I can study on the bus on the way to class. I can study at home. I have it there, which is really, really exciting. Evernote Peak is another fun one. This application allows you, and it does link in with Evernote, so it is an Evernote product. But Evernote Peak will actually allow me to take and create flashcards. And what it does is it uses the some iPad cases, they have the magnet, like the smart covers and things like that. And what that does is when it gets a magnet on the edge of your iPad, the screen will shut off. So it's a way to conserve battery. Your case that we gave you as a temporary case does this function. So what you can do is you can look at the word. You can see that it says, biology. Okay. You put the cover down. It makes the screen go dark. It puts the iPad to sleep. You can then answer the question, the study of life. You lift up the cover, and it gives you the answer.
Oh.
So it's a really cool application, and it's also free. So that's where we're getting now into the redefinition. That's something that you couldn't do before. And then finally, when you get fully into redefinition, you have things like GarageBand, making music on your iPad, Imovie, making movies, time-lapse. I think I gave this example in class where you have, everyone does that bean project when they're in their science classes. You put a bean in a paper towel and you watch it grow. Well, what would be really cool, and the way we can move and use the iPad in a redefinition portion of the SAMR model is have the students use iTimelapse Pro, take a photo of their plant every single day, and then at the end of the unit, put those photos together and do a time lapse of that plant growing.
How cool is that?
Yeah, so yes, we could have done that before, but it would have taken a lot of effort, and it's something that wouldn't have been as easy if we didn't have an iPad. So that is the SAMR model. And again, just something to kind of take away from the SAMR model is there are times when substitution is perfectly fine.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
It's not. Don't think of this as, oh, I have to do substitution. I have to do everything to get into the redefinition part. Having a good mix of all of these segments is what's going to make for integrating technology in the classroom effective. You want to have a good mix of everything.
Well, it's, with Bloom's taxonomy, I think a lot of times, we were pushing in the classroom, we're trying to build to that higher level, that critical thinking, upper echelon, if you will. But just like with Bloom's taxonomy, there were times that we needed to do just the basic stages. But I like the SAMR model because, like you said, it's never about just pushing to the end plan. You're trying to use all of it. So.
Yeah. Yep. And again, that's the takeaway from SAMR, is that you don't want to just use one little piece of it. You want to use a healthy mix of all of the SAMR model. So that's good. Okay. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to screen share again, and we're going to get back to our book here. So again, there's a small video you can watch here on the SAMR model that's really handy, and then these are the activities for the SAMR model. And what we had the groups do in training was to go through and make a lesson and fit it into the SAMR model somewhere. Find an activity and then tell us, well, which portion of the SAMR model does that fall into? And we found several times where, I thought someone's lesson was in the modification, whereas they just thought it was an augmentation. So it really does come down to the person who created it, It's not going to be one way or the other. So, okay. Next, we're going to talk about connecting and communicating, and this is where I would call this Social Media 101. This is where social media does come into play pretty heavily. You have all these applications at the bottom that are meant to connect us to the outside world, and this is something that technology has made a lot easier on us. We could do this all before, but using technology is going to make this a whole lot easier. So the first one here is the Skittles Activity, okay? And you want to build a PLN, and I'm wanting to say that's Personal Learning Network. Evelyn can clarify that for us, but I'm pretty sure that that's what that is. And the activity was for us to go out on Twitter and first of all send 3 tweets, then follow 5 educators, and then search for hashtags. And you can do a lot with this, and we can give some examples of different educators. Maybe I can find an educator per week and share with you guys. But that was the activity. And we just went through the various apps. Of course, we all know Facebook, Twitter, this is Skype, the Google Hangouts, which we're familiar with, just simple messaging. This is the message app on an iPad. This is FaceTime on an iPad. And then here is LinkedIn. Are you familiar with LinkedIn?
Yes, and I have been adding a couple of contacts and such, but I'm not as familiar with that as I am, of course, Facebook. So. Well,
and maybe we can do a personal development activity with LinkedIn. And the reason why I say that is because, and this is speaking a few years ago when LinkedIn first came on the scene, it was meant to be a professional Facebook, basically. And now it's becoming more like Facebook. My grandmother added me on LinkedIn and started endorsing me for things, because that's how it works, is that you go into the website, and if someone, let's say that I've worked with you and I know that you have great communication skills, I can endorse you for communication skills, and that would just validate it on your digital resume that you can have on LinkedIn. So it's really, the premise is really awesome, and it's meant for you to be able to network with professionals, which as a teacher I think is extremely important. You can add any of the people that you're going to be working with in your schools. You can add that to your LinkedIn account. They can endorse you, and that'll just add validity to your resume. However, on this other side, again, is it's becoming more like a catch-all social media outlet where, again, my grandmother added me and started endorsing me, and I just wanted to ask, how do you know I know this, So, I mean, I just didn't understand it, but she meant well, and I just didn't add her on my LinkedIn. So you want to be very careful about who you do add. And again, this is where you want to make sure you keep your digital resume updated. The nice thing is, and I did this when, working for Apple, I would go in and search prospective employees and look at what they've done, where they've worked, and those kinds of things, just to kind of see their LinkedIn account. So it is something important that I think professionally we need to kind of start keeping updated, and I would add anything that you've done in the schools or that you will be doing in the schools because of this program. This little guy over here is Edmodo, and we've talked a little bit about Edmodo. Are you familiar with it?
I'm very familiar with Edmodo because my daughters both had to do activities and quizzes this past year on Edmodo.
Perfect. So. Okay. Yep. So Edmodo is just a social media based. It's very similar to Facebook, but it is an LMS, a learning management software that teachers can use to set up classrooms, and it's free. It's user friendly. So instead of using JSU and then Oxford, where I taught, used Blackboard. And Blackboard's very expensive, but you get what you pay for because there were a lot of great little perks and upgrades that Edmodo doesn't have. But Edmodo is just a great free option if teachers would like to put their content on the web for their students. Okay. Any questions so far on connecting?
No, and I made sure to make a note that we were going to talk maybe about a personal development regarding LinkedIn, so we'll make sure to come back to that. But so far, everything's good.
Perfect. Okay, and again, I know that you are about 30 minutes away from having to open or get stuff open. If you would like to, just any moment that you have, that you would like to step away, because I am recording this for future purposes, if you just want to mute your microphone and do what you need to do and then jump back, I'm just going to keep on talking.
Okay.
And then what's nice is this is going to record onto YouTube, so you can go back and watch what I've said. So you're not going to really miss anything.
Right. And to mute my microphone, I go
up at the top. Yeah, up at the top it should have a little microphone with a slash through it. I don't know exactly on your iPad where that would be.
Okay.
I'm going to go to mine right quick just to see. I know where I put that. No, I don't know where I put that.
Huh. Okay.
Okay, let me look and see. It should be, it should be over on...
Okay, I found it. Let me see if this works. Hold on just a second. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, well, poo.
Yeah, it should be a little microphone with and a little thing through it, like a swipe.
I'm trying. I mean, all that's on my screen. Oh, wait. There we go.
Uh-oh. Now you can't unmute it. You're still muted. Let me see if I can. Uh-oh. How did we do that? Okay. Did you press what you pressed a second ago? It's not there anymore? Tap on the middle of your screen and see if it comes up.
Oh my gosh, I feel so stupid.
No, don't. Okay, so yay, now we know how to mute and unmute. So like I said, if at any point you need to step away and do what you need to do, just know that this is being recorded. It's going to be on our YouTube channel, and you can go back and review it. And if you have questions, you can post them on the group Facebook, or you can email myself or Evelyn. So, okay, and just give me a little heads up before you step away, though. Just be like, hang on, and then mute, and then we'll be good.
Okay.
Okay, let's go back to my iBook here. I'm actually going to pull that drawer in so I can get full screen. Okay, so here, going through creativity. So this is where we're getting into the fun part, and it's kind of, she broke this book down, I think it's brilliantly broken down into a good order. So we know how to connect, and we know how to, and where we can post things that we create. Well, now we're moving into, well, how do we create things to post? And there are tons of different creating applications. We're going to talk about photos first. So here the activity is all about taking and editing photos, and we just gave these little examples here. This first guy, this is actually just the camera app on your iPad. Then we move on into Photoshop Express, which is great because it edits, you can edit photos on your iOS device, so on your iPad. So you can add colors and filters, borders, those types of things. This is your photo application, the Photos app on your iPad. This is where all your photos that you create are stored. Okay, and then finally we have Skitch, and Skitch is a really neat one that you can actually take photos and draw on top of them and annotate them. I'm sure you can use it for great professional ways. I just use it to put mustaches on people. I mean, that's what I've used it for years. Skitch has been around for a long time, and I really enjoy that app. They've done some updates to it, but yeah, I used to just sit and make mustaches and those kinds of things on people. Draw glasses, like Harry Potter glasses, and give them a little Harry Potter scar. So, yep. So, okay. Any questions on those applications? Okay. Well, moving on. It just gives you some more activities here that you can do, things like crop and straighten, rotate, and flip. So what I would do is after we finish the session today, I would go through and just use these applications, play around with them. And again, Photoshop, I'm wanting to say Express is free. I know that Skitch is a free app, but I'm wanting to say that there's a price for Express. I could be completely wrong, though. So, okay. I want to see where she put, hang on one second. Okay, I don't see them here, so I'm actually going to pull them up on my, yeah, I don't see where she has. Okay, speaking of creativity, let me go through right quick. I'm going to pull my screen up on here. I'm going to stop screencasting for a second. Let's talk about movie making, because that's another big component of this, is that you want to be able to make movies, and this was in the redefinition, well, the modification / redefinition section of SAMR. And so on my iPad, and I know you can totally see this, but I have several different folders. I keep my apps in folders. I organize them just because I want to make sure that I can easily navigate to an application that I need. I have them like the Learn folder here. It has applications. Lynda.com, their video tutorials. Khan Academy is free. You can learn concepts like tons of different topics. I use it for keeping refreshed on my business courses. iTunes U is free. TED, of course, TED Talks, they're there. I have an entire folder of all the LMS / assessment applications that I have on my iPad. So I keep them grouped by what they are. And so show and tell is the presentations, documents for creating documents here. And then finally I have create. So these are the things that you can actually use to create things. And we have iMovie. Were you there on the day that we played with iMovie?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So iMovie is great because it's free. That's the first one. And it's fairly simple to use, and you have a lot of tools at your disposal to make a very nice and professional movie. There are other ones out there that you can use for movie production. Those are just the ones that almost everyone uses iMovie just because of those reasons I mentioned earlier. Okay? Cool. All right, well, let me jump back. I'm going to take this off of me and put it back onto the desktop. Alrighty. Okay, so those are the different creativity folders. Next are presentations. And again, with presentations, this is using things like Prezi, Haiku Deck, ThingLink, which is really fun. And you were present for this as well, weren't you? Mm-hmm. Okay, all right, great. So what we may do, just because since you've been through all of this, we're just going to kind of go through a little more quickly. Is that okay with you?
That's fine, yeah.
Okay, because I don't think we need to, because you came in, I was thinking for whatever reason.
Now, ThingLink, they went over a lot when Dr. King was with us, so that might be what you're thinking. As far as Prezi, Haiku Deck, and all that, that had to be day 2 because I don't really know a whole lot about that.
Okay, so. All right, well then that's great. So now I know where we are. Okay, so ThingLink, as you discovered, is you take an image, you can add a little point on that image, and you can have it come up with a video or some information. You can have it come up with things. Prezi, Haiku Deck, and Keynote are all presentation creators, and they're traditional presentations. The nice thing about Prezi is that it is a web-based presentations program. All right, so it does need internet access, and the way it works is with Prezi is it makes presentations that are more almost 3D and interactive. They're very simple to create, so I would play around with Prezi. I actually don't have any Prezi application or any Prezis on my iPad. I was telling them that on Friday I had to wipe my iPad clean because I tried to download a television show and I had no more room. But that's okay. Let me show you. Yeah. And I'm wanting to say, is this... Oh, yeah. Nope. Just kidding. My trial has expired for this program. This little program, Reflector, is really neat. I can AirPlay my iPad screen to my computer, which is great for doing video tutorials, but it has expired, so I can't. So I have to go old school and hold it up for you, which is fine. All right, let me get off of my screen share. Yay, I'm back. Okay, so Prezi is the one that's the blue square with the little circles inside of it, and this is what it looks like. And it's very simple, you know, tap to edit. So I'm going to tap here to put in a title, and I'm going to call it Welcome. Okay, and then I can make my keyboard go away, and here it says we'll add an option. So I'm going to go ahead and say Edit Frame, and I'm going to come here and say this is me, and I'm going to add a photo, and it's going to be an image. And what's nice is I can do a Flickr image search. I can take a photo, or I can choose an existing photo, and it comes up and says, are you sure you want your camera to have access? Oh, I forgot. I took off all my pictures, so I'm going to have to take a photo. So I'm actually going to take a photo of you. Okay. All right, I'm going to use that photo. All right, and it's putting the photo here. And again, this is a web-based application, so it's constantly going to the internet. So if you're in a school system that doesn't have great Wi-Fi and all 20 students or 25 students are trying to access the internet, that can also slow your internet access down. So kind of just be aware of that. Okay, you can then go on to, let's see, I'm going to go back home here. Now I can go to this other little bitty bubble. I'm going to say Edit Frame. I'm going to say Hello. And then again, I can add another piece of text here. Welcome to my video. Okay, very basic. All right. The neat thing about this, I'm just going to go up to the top and hit Present. What's cool about Prezi is this is the interactive part I was telling you about. So I can tap on a little bubble, or I'm sorry, I can, you know, move around. I can tap on, well, I thought I could tap on my little, there we go. I can double tap. It takes me to that bubble. I can swipe over. So it's a different sort of presentation. It's not just slides upon slides upon slides. It's a little bit more interactive. It's 3D, which is really cool. Haiku Deck, which is the other one that we discussed, and again, with any type of applications that we're discussing, there are probably hundreds of those applications. These are just the ones that we've played around with. Haiku Deck is another one, and Haiku Deck, the whole point is it's very short, sweet, to the point. Very simple. I thought I had already signed in. Hang on one second, sorry.
You're fine.
So unprofessional. Like I said, oh, it was very bad on Friday because I had just wiped my iPad clean and I had nothing on it whatsoever. Oh, I know why. My Wi-Fi is off on my iPad. It's down. So I'm not going to go into Haiku Deck just because it's now giving me issues. But what I would do is just play around with it. It's very simple. You just add your slides, your text, and you're good to go. Same thing with Keynote for the most part. Keynote, it's a very simple presentation maker as well. So there you go. Okay. So I'm going to move on to, let's see. The next part is screencasting. Okay, so this is the portion where we were talking about the applications like Show Me. We did, you know, EduCreate. We then talked about, I think this one is Explain Everything is here. Nomia. Show Me, Doodlecast is here. Pix and Tell, and then I forget which one that one is. But all of these applications essentially let you do the same thing. You're able to go in, use your iPad as a virtual whiteboard, and explain topics. Now, you did play around with a screencasting application, correct? Okay, perfect. All right, so there are some more activities there if you want some to brush up on it. Next, we're going to talk about Etext. So this is where we get into ebooks on the iPad, and there are several applications for reading those. The native iPad app is iBooks, and it's a free download from Apple. You also have the Kindle. There's also the Barnes & Noble ebook reader called the Nook, and it also has an app for your iPad. So there are tons of different ebook readers out there. It just kind of depends on which one you prefer. Okay. The benefit of all these ebook readers is you can add PDFs to iBooks, which is very helpful. So if your teacher finds some supplemental material to her teachings and it's a PDF, they can send those to the iPad to be read on the iPad via iBooks. So that's extremely helpful. One of the benefits that I like over of using iBooks is that the application that I'm actually in right now on my Mac is called Ibooks Author. Okay, it's a free application. It's from Apple, and it allows you to create iBooks. Okay, and that's how Evelyn actually created your iBook here. You have your iBook ready to go. You can either publish it to the iTunes store, where it can be in the public domain and anyone can download it, or you can just preview it to the device. And this is where, let's say that your teacher wants to make a quiz booklet. She just basically wants to make a book of quizzes that can supplement her textbook. Okay, there are two different methods. They can create it here in iBooks and publish it to the iTunes store. Publishing it sends it out to review from Apple. Apple reviews it, checks to see if it has any kind of explicit material or copyright material, and then they make a judgment and they put it on the iBook store. And it's a very long process and it's an ordeal. Or you can just simply go to preview. Okay, now preview is the method that I would use if your teacher has created content and they want to dump it onto the iPad. It's a very simple process. All you have to do is make sure that iBooks is running on the iPad, so make sure it's open. You connect your cable, you tap on preview, and it pops up here and says, a copy of it. It's a fully...
I can't hear you anymore, Candace. Hello.
Open recent. Here's the introduction to MacBook Air. This is something I'm working on. Hey, can you hear me?
I can now. I lost you.
I think I've lost you.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Hello.
Oh, it's my network. Yeah, your network connection is experiencing difficulties. Hey, can you hear me?
I can. Yes.
I'm good? Okay. Okay. Yeah, it said that my network is experiencing difficulties, so, uh-oh. And again, if it drops the call, it drops the call, and we can, you know, figure it out. But what I was saying is this is actually an iBook that I'm working on for you guys. This is an introduction to the MacBook Air. So this will be something that you guys can have on your iPads if you need help with a MacBook Air, as your teacher will have one. I go over things like all the ports that are on the MacBook Air, the speed of the iPad, you know, all this, you know, what the keys do. So I've developed all this for you guys. Going into the basic software, similar to what I did, and this may have been day 2, I did go over a little tutorial on the MacBook. Were you there for that? Okay, I'll have to get with you about that because it's something that you just need to kind of see on here. So maybe we can do a private hangout for that. But yeah, so I went through, this is a book that I created. It's very simple to create books. If I go here to New from Template Chooser, the nice thing is it gives you templates. All I have to do is double click on the template I want, give my book a title. So okay, so I come in here and there we go. I can even come in here and drop a photo if I want to. So I can go to media here and any picture. So this is me eating a yummy popsicle. Okay, so I can just drag and drop whatever I want. I can even add intro media, so if there's like a video that the teacher wants to put there at the very beginning, kind of discussing this book, they can do that. And then you just come in here, here's chapter 1. So,
wow. So neat.
Yeah, and there you go. And it's just, they can do things like that. The really neat thing that iBooks allows you to do is, I'm just going to add a blank page just to show you this. Over here we have widgets. Now widgets are different items that they can do. So let's say your teacher has created supplemental material, something else they want their students to know that wasn't in the original text. Or let's say that they just want to create a review. You can actually add quizzes here to the books. So I can hit review here, and this is going to be, you know, question, and this is going to say, what is the study of Okay, and then you can come in here and you can say, you know, anatomy, and then you can say biology, and then you can go in and say astrology, and then astronomy. Okay, and you would choose the correct answer. And now that question's there. If I want to add another question, just come down here and hit the plus sign, and here are the different types of questions. I can do a multiple choice where they have to select the correct picture. So it's really, really neat. And I'll show you. I'm going to go ahead and don't save that. I can show you quickly. I think I have, let me jump out here. I should have on, if you go to iBooks on your iPad and you search for, let's see, where do I put iBooks? So I'm here on iBooks, and here is, there we go, Life on Earth. This is an example of what you can do with an iBook. See, this is the intro media.
This is a century.
See, this is the intro media that I was talking about. It's a video.
Great discoveries concerning life on this planet.
Which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I can then say I'm done with that. And here's how the iBook looks. What's really neat is you can tap on an item, and they're not static images. So here's a video embedded in the text.
We want to show you biology, just like this great
So
system I'm standing in is a...
I can come over here to some of these. Here's another. I can see what protein looks like. I can add the lipids in there, carbohydrates. I can see what they do.
Unbelievable.
Here's another cool thing. I can pinch and drag this guy. So it's something that's a 3D image. Here's another video. So it's really neat. And of course, you know, being a textbook is I can come through and I can press and hold.
Exit stage left.
Oh, should be able to go in here. Oh, here we go. I have a notepad up at the top. And here's where I can add notes if I want to in the text. So it's a really, really neat, I just love iBooks. And if you go and search this textbook, actually, if you go in and search for this, they actually, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, all of the Life on Earth chapters, which I think there are like 7 or 8 chapters in this textbook, are free. So you can actually go and download those to your iPad and just have another. Are you teaching any, are you going to be partnering with any science teachers?
Sadly,
I mean, it's
not.
fun just to have. It's just fun to have,
right,
too. And again, I have it downloaded just so I can get ideas for creating my own textbooks and things. So
as a literature teacher, this absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Because we try so hard to teach strategies like reading around the text, where you go and you look at the pictures and the bolded, bold print words, and oh my goodness, how exciting is that?
Oh yeah, and it's extremely fun. I mean, think about it. You could have different passages from the works that your students are reading, and then you can have a quiz alongside it. You can make a little quiz booklet to see their comprehension. So I think it's great. I love it. I love it a lot. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to my desktop again. And now we're going to go on into collaboration. So this is where we're getting more into the collaborative piece. And of course, you've used Google Drive, so we're very familiar with that. This one is called Bayboard. I believe that's what it is. I'm not too familiar with this. This is one that Evelyn has worked with. So I would just download this app and play around with it. But apparently, it allows you to do things, where you can use it as another whiteboard, collaborative projects and or presentations. So I think that would be a good, just to go and look through that. Do you have any questions about collaborative before we move to productivity? Okay. Now we're into productivity, okay? And this is where we're getting into that paperless classroom model. The first one here is Shobi, and basically what it is Shobi is where you can sign, collect, and review student work on your iPad. Then you can provide feedback to the students by adding annotations, text notes, and voice notes directly on their documents. So they submit documents to you, like a Word file or a Pages file that they've typed up on their iPad, goes to you, and then you can go through and basically grade their papers. But I like that you can add voice notes, which is really nice. So you can go in and just kind of give them a quick review of that lesson if need be. Evernote is the one that I love. Evernote. If you just go onto YouTube and search for Evernote in the classroom, there are tons of videos showing how to use Evernote efficiently in the classroom. You can give students task lists. It's a great way to just keep notes, as you can create several notebooks. So your students can have a notebook for every subject and then have notes inside of that. And you can have notebooks inside of notebooks. So, you can have a biology notebook and then have chapter 1's material in one notebook. It's great for organization. TinyScan is really nice, where you can take a picture of the document and save it as a PDF, which can then be emailed or added to your Evernote account. So this is one that I use, and I will just show you on your, if we go to, did I lose? Okay, so I'm going to back out of this. So if I go back to our resources, I have Training Week 2. And I have the presentation notes for Dr. King and Miss Christopher. When they came in, they gave us a handout. Well, I took the handout. I have no idea where my handout is, but I took that handout and I immediately used my TinyScan app and I created this. And so now it is digitized. I'm never going to lose it. It's here.
Right.
And so I would get into the habit of doing this with I just made a note, made a mental note to myself that any piece of paper that came across my desk, I'm going to digitize it. You don't have to have fancy scanners. I mean, look at this. It was taken with my iPad, you know, so easy. And then I could easily, because it, works with TinyScan, I'm able to upload it directly to my Google Drive and not have to worry about, oh, where did I put that? So I love using TinyScan to try to get all the paper out of my life.
Yeah.
So finally, you have PDF notes. Quickly annotate and save PDFs. The cool thing about this is, let's say that I have a form that I need you to sign. It's a PDF. I email it to you. You can open it in PDF notes, sign it, save it back as a PDF, and email it to me. Cool. You don't have to print it. You don't have to sign it. It's ready to go. I love using PDF annotating apps. And there are tons of different ones. This is just one that Evelyn put on here, which is called PDF Notes, which is really cool. All right, any questions on productivity?
I just can't wait to play around with a lot of this that I haven't had the opportunity to.
Oh, yeah. That's the biggest thing, is playing around with it after the fact. Going through and just looking at these apps. And again, looking for different apps. These are just 4 that we thought of, off the top of our head. There are tons of these types of applications out there. All right. Talk about learning management. So this is where we get into LMS. So a learning management system, or software if you prefer. There are 2 here that we discussed. The first one is Edmodo, and then finally Schoology. Starting with Edmodo, since it's a freebie, it's free. It provides safe, easy way for teachers and students to engage and collaborate for free anytime, anywhere. And the nice thing about it is it's not device specific. So Edmodo, they can get onto it. If you're going to be in a BYOD, a bring your own device situation, you don't know, are they going to be on a cell phone? Are they going to be on an iPad? Are they just going to be on a PC? You don't know. But with Edmodo and Schoology, it's universal. They've made them for both apps, which is really nice. So,
Candace, I'm going to step away for just a moment and go ahead and start opening, and I'm muting.
Okay, I'll just keep talking, and again, you can go and catch up later. Okay. So going back to it, Edmodo, again, is an application that you can set up a virtual classroom. And what's nice is it's set up very much like Facebook. It mimics Facebook. It looks very similar to Facebook. And the nice thing about that is most students are familiar with Facebook, so they're not going to see much change between their school and their social life, which is nice. Schoology is really a neat LMS where you can do discussion boards. the nice thing is you can perform assessments and collaborate with the peers. So it's very similar to Edmodo. It adds some assessment pieces to it, and here are the activities for that. Okay. Moving on, we have accessibility, and there are tons of accessibility features with the iPad. Most of those are going to be in settings, and we have things like text-to-speech, where you can have the iPad actually speak to text, which is really a nice addition. So if you would like it to speak the text in a textbook, you can have it speak that information. Dragon dictation is another one where you can speak to your iPad and it takes notes for you. It converts your speech into text, which is nice. Now, your iPad does that natively. If you open any keyboard in any application where you can speak into the microphone, it lets you know which ones you can. There's going to be a small microphone next to your space bar, and this will actually allow you to speak into your iPad and have it type out what you're saying. We're going to look at the settings inside of System Preferences, inside of Settings on your iPad. So let's go ahead. I'm going to jump back here, take that off Screencast, and we're going to go into your settings. Okay, so inside settings here, okay, we have all the types of different settings that we have. Inside the general settings, almost up here at the center here, we have accessibility, okay, and your accessibility, there are tons of different features for accessibility. One of the ones that I think would be most beneficial is going to be the larger text. You can turn larger text on where all your text is super large. You can put on bold text, so if you're having vision problems, you can have it bold the text. You can also do voiceover where it speaks everything on your iPad. So just go through and play with some of the accessibility features on the iPad is going to be extremely helpful just in case you're in a scenario where you do need to turn those features on. Knowing where they are and how to use them is going to be crucial. Okay. Alrighty, I'm going to jump back to our book and we're going to move on into assessment. Okay, so assessment is where, you know, it's been great that we've talked a little bit about going back up here, we've discussed the apps, customizing, getting to know your iPad, connecting. We've talked about creating and presenting and learning how to, you know, learn these concepts. Well, it's nothing if we can't do authentic assessment on the iPad, and that's the next section. Are you back with me, Natalie?
I am.
Perfect. We didn't miss much. We just talked a little bit about the accessibility features on the iPad. I would go in and look through some of those features. They're very neat. You can do things, you can have the iPad do speech to text and then also text to speech. So look through those features, and that's basically all I've discussed. Going into assessment, because this is the next portion that's kind of important, is again, this is what I was saying, is we've learned how to create items, we've learned how to present, you know, we've learned how to show the students the information we want to show them, but how can we actually assess them and see, well, where's your retention of this material? And that's where applications like Socrative come in, and I'm just going to use Socrative as the example. Again, there are tons of them. There are tons of assessment applications. So that's where I have here the LMS. Inside the two different LMS softwares that we discussed, Edmodo and Schoology, there are assessment pieces to that, but what I'm going to look more into is Socrative. Now with Socrative, there's both a teacher and a student application. From the teacher application, it comes up, I'm going to sign in with my Google+, and you have a classroom. You have a classroom ID that you will need to give your students, and so this one is 5D87EC3F, okay, and that's always going to be my classroom. I can tell students, okay guys, enter this room, and here it is. The nice thing is it doesn't have to be on the local wireless network. They can actually be at home, and so it connects over the internet. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Start Quiz, okay, and I'm going to create one. And then here it comes in, and I can just name the quiz. I'm going to add a multiple choice question. I can type the question here, and then I can add the different choices. Okay, and what this does is it broadcasts out to my students' iPads, which is really nice. One of the things that I would use this for is, let me go to, let me see. Well, I don't know why it's not letting me. Oh no, it won't let me. Okay, here we go. I'm back. Is you have something down here with an exit slip. So it says exit ticket. You can tap on exit ticket, and what it does is it lets you see, okay, how well did you understand today's material? And they have just the 3 questions. The next one is, what did you learn in class today? And then finally, please answer the teacher's question. So you can go in. I can also do a quick question. So if, let's say, I can kind of sense that maybe they're not sure of what I just said, I can go through and just do a quick 1 question to the group. And the nice thing is it does come in on my iPad. I can show this up on the screen. It's not going to tell me, oh, John gave this answer, which is really handy. So there we go. So that is Socrative, and that's one that you can use for assessment. And again, inside of all the different LMS applications on the iPad, there are assessments in those as well. So there are tons of different ways you can do it. We also discussed how you can use a Google form as an assessment. So, you know, Google form is how I collected all of your basic information on the first day. You can use Google form. Granted, you have to create a Google form on a laptop, but you can use a Google form as an assessment. You can have that posted and say, okay, guys, after today's lesson, go through and answer these questions, and it comes through as a spreadsheet. So there's another way that you can do an assessment on the iPad.
So Google Forms have to be created on
the MacBook.
A desktop.
On a computer, yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
There's not, unfortunately, there isn't an iPad app for that. So Google Forms and Google Slides are the only 2 Google applications that do not have an iPad app.
Okay. So Google Forms and Google Slides. And both of those must be created on desktop. Okay, yes. That's good to know because I didn't know that. So.
Well, there you go. Okay, one other little piece, and then I will be finished, and we can answer any questions that you may have, is going to be under research and reference. So, again, the iPad is great for research. There are tons of different applications that allow you to do searches. There are dictionaries. There are thesauruses. There's Merriam-Webster dictionary here. EasyBib is interesting. It's a free application, and basically what it does is it looks up a book or an ISBN number, and it provides the citation in the MLA, APA, or Chicago format for the student. So if they're doing a research paper, you scan the ISBN of the book that they gathered the research from, and it gives them how to cite that particular book, which is really neat.
I love it.
So, granted,
there's 2 schools of English teachers. There's the ones that are absolutely opposed to these types of tools, and there's teachers like me.
Right.
MLA format changes all the time. So to me, it's a waste of time to memorize how to do citations because they're going to move the comma and change it into a period, and EasyBib's great. And then there's another one which is not an app, but I mean you may have heard of it. It used to be called Son of Citation Machine, but I think it's called something else now. But anyway, like I said, it's not an app, but you know, go ahead, sorry.
Well, no, if you find it, post it to the Facebook group and let's look at it because I would love to see that.
Okay.
So, okay, let us just kind of do a quick review. I think everything, I covered everything for day 2. What questions do you have?
I'm sure I'll think of some after I get off.
Okay, yeah,
but, you did a great job going over everything, and thankfully, day 3 when I came in, during our breaks and such, I was able to kind of catch up. So, it wasn't just completely brand new material. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that sounds good. All right. Well, we will check the Facebook page later. We're going to be posting some, assignments there to get your hours in for this week. And we're going to also nail down one of our tasks for this today. Basically, is to nail down the schedule for sending you to your schools and doing your introductions. The issue we're having is our schools just aren't committing to letting us, meet with them. So we're having a lot of, which I understand, it's in service, it's a crazy time. Right. This is just something extra that they're going to have to do. So I totally understand where they're coming from, but still I want them to nail down a time so we can meet with them. So. Okay. If you have any questions or anything, just please let me know. I would love to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Candace. I appreciate it.
No problem. Have a wonderful afternoon.
You too.
All right, bye.